Helen was a unique individual, a woman who has spent more than half a century, her entire adult life, fighting relentlessly to build the revolutionary leadership of the international working class. As Comrade Dave said, she was part of a generation that was radicalized first by the Cuban Revolution and then by the civil rights movement and opposition to the Vietnam War. But unlike the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of others who succumbed to bourgeois nationalism in one form or another of all descriptions, as soon as she came into contact with the Trotskyist movement, Helen became committed to revolutionary internationalism. We have to remember, as Sheila pointed out, that the movement at that time was very small because of the devastating effects of the capitulation of the Socialist Workers' Party to Pabloite revisionism. But Helen was concerned with program, perspectives, and the record of historical struggle. She knew from the outset that there could be no liberation of Black workers and youth without the combined struggle of the entire international working class. As she said herself, she learned a great deal from Bob and Jean Rust, who formed a living link with the revolutionary struggles of the American working class in the 1930s. And so Helen became part of that continuity of struggle which went back to the foundation of the Fourth International under Trotsky's leadership. Helen herself played a similar role in educating the young cadre who have joined our movement during this new upsurge of the struggles of the international working class. In her early days within the party, or the movement, I should say, she took a leadership role in both the Workers' League and the Young Socialist, as Dave has pointed out. She was the driving force behind the international campaign demanding the freedom for Gary Tyler, a man who spent 41 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. She played a crucial role in the struggle against Woolforth in 1974 and supported the launching of the investigation into security on the Fourth International. These experiences were an essential part of the preparation of the Workers' League to play an independent role in the exposure of the degeneracy of the Workers' Revolutionary Party between 1982 and 86. Comrade Dave has spoken eloquently about the role, and Sheila, of course, as well, the role that Helen played in the history of the Workers' League. She developed as a leader of great stature, as was evidenced when she accepted the huge responsibility of running as a candidate for white vice presidency alongside Edwin in 84 and 88. And then in 92, she stood as candidate for the presidency alongside Comrade Fred Mazelis. I know from my own experience that she took every task, from selling papers outside Detroit auto factories to collecting thousands of signatures to put the Workers' League on the ballot, to visiting contacts, to speaking to groups of workers, to educating young cadre, or to addressing international gatherings with the same thoroughness, energy, and dedication. Worker comrades loved and admired Helen because she was devoted to Trotsky's advice about the necessity of the party to patiently explain. I got to know Helen after the split, when it became possible for the international cadre to meet and discuss at camps of the Workers' League. I have my notes from those camps, and the level of discussion particularly from members of the Workers' League is amazing. It was not just a question of Healy be described as somebody who had degenerated into a petty bourgeois Democrat, but to seek explanations of his degeneration in the social forces that were then emerging. And the discussion actually began in about 1971, and the whole question of the collapse or crisis of the American dollar. And it went through the whole period up to 82 with great thoroughness to actually unravel precisely what the causes and pressures were that meant that a man like Healy, who had played such a role in the struggle against Pabloism, had lost any confidence in the independent mobilization of the working class. It was on the basis of that clarification the ICFI was able to take the huge step forward to building a truly united international party. And Comrade Helen played an important part in that struggle. She travelled to the UK on numerous occasions to hold discussions with leading cadre of the ICP. I came to know Helen more intimately when I stayed with her on several visits to Detroit. I didn't realize at the time that I was a part of a long line of international comrades whom she accommodated on their visits to the US. She never made me or anyone else feel unwelcome in the slightest. As Comrade Davis said, she was resolute and uncompromising on all political questions, but she was kind and hugely empathetic if comrades had any problems. On one occasion, when I stayed with her for an extended period of time, I was suffering badly from a bout of osteoarthritis, and her kindness and concern were exemplary. She did everything she possibly could to help me. And under the right conditions, she was also great fun to be around. She was somebody who loved jazz, and she took me during when the party headquarters were at Hamtramck. We went to a tiny little jazz club where a retired auto worker played jazz piano. Later, I went to a number of jazz clubs in Detroit. And along with Helen and Comrade Barry and other comrades, we went to the Detroit Opera House to see what I think was the final performance of Nina Simone. I want to conclude my remarks by making the point that there was nothing phony or pretentious about Helen. As Comrade Dave said, she was very blunt. She always said what she thought, and she expected you to do the same. She was the real deal, as you say, in the United States. And she was the genuine article, as we say here in the UK. She was a revolutionary leader through and through. She devoted her whole adult life to the struggle of the international working class. And in condition, I think her death was tragic, sad, and untimely, that she still had so much to give to the struggles which are coming up before us in this new unprecedented revolutionary situation. The international character of the working class is beyond dispute. The development of a unified struggle against poverty, oppression, and war is developing apace. We must follow Helen's example and devote the rest of our lives to the struggle for the unity, the successful carrying out of the revolutionary struggle of the working class, and the victory of socialist revolution. Thank you, comrades.